Here as the chair of the session, and we shall start with Professor Muhammad Moin Saab. He'll be talking about teaching online.
Thank you very much,
They'll be watching.
Professor Sophia. And my topic is going to be teaching online, so there are a little more slides, so just go faster on this. Chale. So, online teaching, I think everybody's been exposed to this during the pandemic. And chale. So basically, we'll discuss how best practices in online instruction, then how you design a course, student engagement, and assessment. So, first thing is instruction. So they say sage on the stage. You mean a wise person or some person who's a lecturer giving his talk or sharing ideas on the stage. This is what used to be analog, which our senior used to do all the time, and the students were sleeping. But this is our age. But the problem is same on the other side. You can't see the person who's sleeping sometimes. In the analog, you could at least see the person who's sleeping and you can adjust yourself. So you have to guide yourself so that the person who's listening to your talk is more engaged and
The
gets.
advantages of asynchronous learning over synchronous learning and
Oh,
face
oh
to
yeah,
face.
there's an audio on that. So the two types of learning which you can get in online learning is either synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. Synchronous is when you have a live webinar and people are sitting at the same time, all of them together, or you have an asynchronous in which there is an online course running and you can see it at your own leisure and then do stuff. So, how do you engage online instruction? Make an online learning activity. I think most of you must have seen Google Jamboard. Even if you go on Zoom, you've got an annotation. You can ask people to sort of draw, and everybody can see that, and you learn with an online learning activity. Use a variety of resources and activities. You can use like Kahoot is a quiz which you can use, and then you can use the videos, instructional, the way the slides are coming, the way they're generated, be regular, visible presence. This is something which comes in if you're running a Google or a YouTube channel. That I'll show you how, because I'm running a channel, so I'll show you what that means, regular and visible. Aim for andragogy and not pedagogy. So andragogy is adult learning principles, which I think everybody has learned in the last session, in which a person needs to be independent. You draw on your life experiences, goal oriented, relevant, and you have respect for equals. So this is the basic patterns which you use. The best online resources. So I'll share with you some of the resources. ICO has resources. Carl would know if they're still available, Carl. This is the one from what they used to be. The Center for Ophthalmic Educators. Now the Ophthalmic Foundation has got, you've got them on your tools on your website now? Okay, good. So the webinar network. So those were the ICO teaching tools. Then the American Academy of Ophthalmology. If you're members of the American Academy, that's fine. But if you're not, like the American Academy offers to OSP members, you can get one network for free. So if you don't have one, you can contact me or you can contact the academy and they can give you for free, so you don't have to pay the $500 or $600 subscription to go online for that. Then Jacopo Carl has been a president of this society, the Joint Commission on Allied Health Professional and Ophthalmology e-learning. Then AMI online courses. This is an educational society which has got a lot of stuff on leadership and education. So this is one network. You can see it is divided into many sections. You can one network, educational learning plan, CME Central, mock exams. So those are the things which you are can have network. This is the one network. One network has got different things which are available, which include cases, courses, videos, get targeted information. You can filter by subspecialty, personalized home pages, continually updated, and this is the educational content which is available. The BSCSC is their educational books, the 12 books, and they cover all of ophthalmology. You have courses, iMovies, and masterclass videos. Provision is their assessment, self assessments, and smart sites. Those are the things which you can use. So online multimedia, academy grand rounds, you can go and assess that, because sometimes what they want is micro learning. because you want the information to come in smaller chunks. Because when you have information overload, you tend to get tired and you sort of get off what you're learning. So then there are 1,000 videos and podcasts. So you can see the masterclass in corneal transplant surgery. Then full text access journals are available online on One Network. And practice guidelines for what you want to do, what is the best practice guideline for cataract surgery, for retina surgery, for glaucoma diagnosis and management. Then you have got the resident hub, which is managed program, develop content, reporting. Then you've got assessments, more than 4,000 MCQs on their website. So this is YouTube. When you go on YouTube, so I'll just show you what you can offer. This is your main page. If you go on the YouTube, you can sort of channel it into different playlists. So these are the playlists which I'm using. So these are subgroupings. When you click on those, you can see their videos. So I've collected over 100 videos now, so that keeps going. And the good thing is the world becomes your audience. Then the important thing what you need to know with YouTube is you've got analytics. You can actually see which content is working good and which is not good, getting good marks, and which is not getting likes. So that is the way you track it. Here you can see you've got 2,000, 8,000 in the last 28 days. So these are the views. Then it tells you which country. Surprisingly, you can see education is most, if you upload anything, India is the main place through which the viewers you have. You can see United States is 6% and Pakistan comes out to be 3.1%. So the countries keep changing because you need to continuously add data. It's been a couple of months since I added data, but still it keeps going. And if you keep regularly, then they say there are certain times of the day and the week you should upload, and it should be the same day, so people get hooked onto that. So that is another thing. This is exactly showing you which day and which time of the day that you're getting hits, so people can actually work around very well with this thing. So then elements of the designing a course is you need to design a course. So if you learned about Moodle is a program which handle courses, and this is you come up with, write your goals and objective, organize the contents, develop evaluations. Moodle is actually an LMS, a learning management system, which I think most of you have encountered when you're doing online teaching, in which you got all these components. So you can run an asynchronous course. So this is the different steps of building a course. You go planning a course, building a course content, multimedia tools. These are the things which you add. So if you go and have a look broadly, what happens is a course becomes open for you. On week 1, you see the slides, you have an assessment, and then at the end of 6 weeks, so you go each day or once a week, whatever your preference is, and you finish the course over a 2 or 3 months period, and then eventually you get either a certification or just an acknowledgement that you've gone through the course. So this is a module 4 this was on ICO. This was Eduardo who was designing that. He was very well on this. So these are the module contents which are available. You just click on the content. It lets you go on to the next content sequentially. So if you've finished one, done the assessment, then only you can go to the next part. Then you also have the webinar network, which was available. You can have a web or a seminar available. Then how do you engage students? So for engaging students, there are different methods. One is doing activity, jam boards. And the other thing is they always ask you to keep your video open so they can see who's always doing it. But now they've developed certain tools which monitors what the person attending this is doing. The camera silently monitors that, and if somebody is not looking or doing something, it automatically gives a cue to the presenter that the person is not there. But people have come up with other ideas. I went to somebody's house and stayed over there, and the lady was working in the house, and she said, but my computer is working and they know I'm online. I said, how? They've got a mouse thing attachment, and that continuously shows that your mouse is working. And that fools the person who's sitting there on the other side. So people come up with both ways. So content delivery, you can have videos, you can have engaging interactive website. And then the last part is assessment. You can assessment tips, make objectives clearly and repeat them, use a variety of assessment types and levels of rigor, make it life easy with rubrics. And Socrative, this is a program which you can use to assess students. Here you can see you enter your name, you come here, you get an MCQ, you answer the MCQ, the result is immediately comes to the person assessor, and you can display online to a group of people, or you can do it on a line. So then you can have student online profiles. So top reason for preferring this course. So you know exactly what the student wants, and you can target that, and you know what his pre-assessment is. So in the end, the 7 myths of online learning. The more information I provide, the more students know what to do. The more content I provide, the more students will learn. All discussion forums have the same learning potential. Students don't want to hear recordings of me. Students are all tech whizzes, and if my course is pretty, then it is user friendly. So those are the main things which you need to consider when doing online teaching. Thank you very much.
Is Professor Dr. Zahid Kamal is not here? Okay, Carl, can you take your lecture now? So I will ask Dr. Carl Koenig to take his talk on teaching ICS.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of things to say about online learning these days. It's and in one of the talks later, I'll talk a little bit about the Ophthalmology Foundation and let people know what this new group is about, and one of the things about online learning. So in the last session, we talked about professionalism and how important that is in medicine, just as important as surgical skill and medical knowledge. Well, communication skills, I would say the same thing. So if you can't communicate well, you are not going to be a good doctor. You're not going to be a good ophthalmologist. You need to have good communication skills. And our residents know that all of this combines to make that good doctor. And just being really smart or having really good hands is not enough. So we need ways to teach communication skills and assess communication skills. So my objectives are that you'll be able to define what are communication skills, and that you'll be able to list some methods of teaching these skills. So I want you to think for a second, picture someone who you think is a great communicator. Just someone that you've encountered. It could be anybody, not necessarily in the field of medicine, it could be anybody. But can you think of someone who you think of as, if I had to describe this person in my head? Has everyone thought of somebody? Anything that comes up? Why did that person come into your head? Do you have any idea? Are there some certain characteristic that you thought that makes them a great communicator? What's that? Is there a particular reason for that? Since I'm not familiar with that person. Knowledge. Right, so knowledge is important. So that's one of the things, being an expert. But it takes more than being an expert, because I think we all know experts who maybe are not great communicators. Right, so understandability, if that's a word. So there are a lot of things that come up, and I'll try to list some of those things. And we know that communication is not just about verbal skills. There's also nonverbal communication with body language. We talked a little bit about that earlier when we talked about eye contact. Eye contact is body language. There's written communication, and then there's listening, and we'll talk a little more about the listening part of things. And this is, forget exactly where I got this. I should have a reference there, but this was called the seven C's of communication. So it should be clear. You want to have clarity in what you're saying. Make sure there is no misunderstanding. It should be concise, succinct. So as I tell my residents in Journal Club, anybody can summarize an article in 30 minutes. I want you to do it in 3 minutes, but do it well. That's being succinct. Be concrete, meaning be specific, definite, vivid in your descriptions. Make sure that people know what you're describing. You want to be correct. That's being the expert, right? So that helps, but that's only one of the C's, is to be correct and be the expert. Coherent. Hopefully it's logical and consistent. It follows a certain organization of thought. Complete. You want to give all the facts, not more than you need, but at least the facts to convey what you're trying to say. And then courteous. We talked about this a little bit in the last section too. respect the receiver. It comes up as an important adult learning principle and something that I think is much different than it was years ago. As the speaker said, when he was a student, it was adversarial. There was browbeating. I know when I was a first-year resident, we had a professor who was very known to be kind of hard on students, and therefore during his lectures no one wanted to answer the questions because they knew if you answered wrong he would berate you in some way. And I distinctly remember to this day, and this was now 34 years ago, one day he asked a question and everyone looked on the floor, me too, and Dr. Golnick, what is the answer? And I told him, and it wasn't right. He said, Dr. Golnick, a first-year medical student would know the answer to that question. You're not reading. And thankfully, I took that as a negative role model, and I said, I will never do this. I did not take that as a positive role model, thinking, oh, that is exactly what I'm going to do when I grow up. So courteous, that learning environment. And then some people say, well, what's the most important skill in communication? And what comes up is listening. So you got to be a good listener. That's how you really can be a good communicator. Make sure you understand what the issue is. If there's an issue, make sure you understand what it is. That's how we develop relationships, by listening to other people. We need to understand where they're coming from and build trust by listening. In medicine, there are certainly very important communication skills, and these are some definitions from our accrediting body, the ACGME. It has to do with creating and sustaining therapeutic and ethically sound relationships, demonstrating effective listening skills, and effective nonverbal body language, explanatory questioning, writing skills, and working effectively with other members of the healthcare team. So really, it means being able to appropriately communicate with everyone you interact with. That would be good communication skills. And this was now 20 years old or so. The Kalamazoo, that's a city in Michigan in the United States, consensus statement. They got together 21 leaders from major medical institutions in the U.S. to talk about communication. And some of their conclusions were that a strong, therapeutic, and effective relationship is a sine qua non of physician-patient communication. You have to be able to open a discussion, gather the appropriate information, understand the patient's perspective, where they're coming from, be able to share information, be able to reach an agreement, and provide closure when you're interacting with patients. So how do we teach communication skills? Well, a lot of these things are really the same as what we talked about a few minutes ago in the first session on professionalism. Role modeling, and I showed the same slide at that presentation, is something that what you're doing may be more important than what you're saying. And you can tell someone to communicate a certain way, but unless you are role modeling that behavior, the student's going to think, well, he's saying that, but look what he's doing. He's yelling at that nurse in the operating room, or whatever is going on. He's not explaining things in a way a patient can understand. And as I said earlier, you're always role models, both in professionalism and in communication skills, like it or not. And then I'm going to show a short video on the next slide, hopefully with sound. This is a video that we made. It's part of the same video I showed during professionalism, because we used it to try to create. The whole video is about 5 minutes long, and we thought about it for what do we see in our students and our colleagues that are good and bad examples of communication skills and professionalism. And then we did a skit, so that I'm one of the actors, and one of my old fellows is another actor. And I think in this one, I'm the doctor and he's the patient. And I'm just going to play the beginning of this and show how we use this to help to teach communication skills.
Well, I mean, so how long does it take on these steroids before I can actually see?
Oh, well, the vision in your right eye is gone. There's nothing we can do about that. That's gone. You're blind in that right eye forever. This is to try to help your left eye.
Holy smokes.
So what we do, can we just go back to that slide and don't play the video? Just leave it there for a second. Thanks. So we show these videos, and we say, well, what do you think about that? That was a good example of breaking bad news, right? The patient is thinking we're treating him to get the vision better, whereas really we're giving him the steroid so that his other eye doesn't get involved with this terrible condition that might make both eyes blind. But the doctor just doesn't really realize that. The patient's there thinking, of course I'm here. You're going to fix me. And the doctor's thinking, no, we're just protecting the other eye. So he just bluntly comes out and says it. So I asked the residents, what do you think? Oh, that's not a way to give bad news. Okay, you, student A and student B, you're the patient, you're the doctor. Let's hear it. Let's do some role playing. It's the same scenario. The person's got this terrible giant cell arteritis. How are you going to talk to the patient? And then we asked the patient, the student, how did that feel? What did you think? How did you feel? Were they empathetic? Did they explain that in a good way? So role playing and commenting on videos. And then, like professionalism or anything that you're teaching, you need a way to assess it, right? And that's the old saying, assessment drives learning. If the students know they're going to be assessed, then they're more likely to learn what you want them to learn. So you have to have ways to assess it. And this is, again, from a paper that we published a few years ago about the 360-degree evaluation, which we use both for professionalism and for communication skills. So in this example, the competency was interpersonal and communication skills. And you can see the question, does the resident demonstrate respectful behavior to the patient? Uses appropriate language, is respectful, uses appropriate humor. Or does the resident elicit information using effective questioning skills? And so these are completed by patients, they're completed by peer residents, and they're completed by staff. Now, different questions are asked of different people. Do you do patient satisfaction surveys in Pakistan? Verbal patient. Okay. Yeah, I mean, patients don't often want to say bad things about their doctor. So, yeah, yeah, informal evaluation of the other experience. Yes. Yeah, so we have, I mean, I get patient satisfaction data, and not only that, but as the chairman of a department, I get all of the bad comments from patients every month at the university on all of the doctors. Thankfully, usually ophthalmology does very well. But I will tell you, of all the complaints, probably 80% communication skills. The doctor didn't listen to me. He looked at his computer. He never looked at me once. It's almost all communication skills when I read those bad complaints about doctors. Now, in lecture, communication skills, really, this is just a very quick overview of what was said in an earlier lecture in the first session. But as far as communicating, you want to be conversational and not monotone. That sounds weird if you just keep your voice the same way. You want to be excited about what you're talking about. If you, the speaker, aren't excited, why do you think the audience would be, right? So don't be monotone. You want to make eye contact. That's something that we've talked about, a form of body language. Smile, right? This should be fun. It should have that good learning environment. People can make comments and ask questions. Emphasize the important points because, as was mentioned, you can put a whole lot of stuff in a lecture. That doesn't mean they're going to learn it. Make sure the student knows what you want them to know. Don't read your slides. If you're going to read your slides, just email me the presentation. I can read it way faster than going to your lecture. So don't just read the slides. And try to stay on time, which I'm apparently not. So in that case, summary, good communication skills are essential to medicine, to being a good physician, just like being smart and having good hands. It can be taught through role modeling. It will be taught through role modeling. But because you're not sure necessarily that all your consultants are great role models in communication skills, mine are not all great role models in communication skills. We need other ways. So videotape examples, students, discussion, role playing like we just talked about. So I thank you for your attention.
I would now like to invite Professor Zahid Kamal for his talk on teaching residents how to teach.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Thank you very much for inviting me, Mr. President and Chairman Scientific Committee. It's always a pleasure to watch and hear to Carl Golnick, and we try you to follow as a role model, sir. Right, well, that's a traditional way of teaching, that the knowledge transfers from one mind to the other mind without activating the cerebral cortex on either side. But actually, do we really need knowledge for the students? Everybody has got the handset in their pocket. But we say that the residents should learn how to teach. But do you think residents should really learn that? What does the house think? Kyun ji? They should. Excellent. So you already have hit nail at the right point. The 90% of the learning, retainable learning, is through teaching the others, and that is what we are all doing now. And it has been published. It was a review article, 43 studies, and they pulled out these several activities which are very, very useful while the residents were teaching the peers. And as we all know that the attitude, skills and knowledge, we need to inculcate all these three domains in our residents. And this is how we provide the learning environment for the teachers. We, as Carl already said, that we really want to make the learning fun. So we engage our resident during the undergraduate learning as well. And you can see that we sometimes give them small prize, a book for their good answers or scores in the test. And when I go for a lecture, I ask one of my residents to prepare a portion of that lecture to be delivered by them. For example, the part of the anatomy or functions or statistics. So they contribute towards that. And I also, because I'm in a unit where we have the other programs going on, like vision sciences program, so I also involve the orthoptist and optometrist to share their experience in their disciplines. And at the end of the lecture, we have again another fun session, that is the feedback, that what happened in the lecture, and we have a lot of activities going on during the lecture, and how could we make it better. And we make also the small group discussions at different centers. I was recently invited at Nishtar Medical University to teach the teachers, and that I was surprised to see they had even a house officer in that certificate in medical teaching class. And but sir, they also had a deputy secretary of health in that class. So hats off to the organizers. Also, when we go for a workshop, I was invited for a workshop by the internal medicine department, workshop on how to perform ophthalmoscopy. So I took my residents and fellows, and you can see that we have a display here, and we have a patient, and they are helping out the internal medicine residents to learn about the ophthalmoscopy. So they can feel good that they are the now real teachers. And also we use the distant learning strategy. We have a WhatsApp group for the students, and we load a picture and ask for the question, and then the undergrads, they start answering, and then the residents, they come in and they give their input. So it is a multi-directional teaching learning strategy. So now the senior resident is performing indirect ophthalmoscopy, and the two junior residents, they are watching in the side mirror. And on the background, further teaching is going on. and in the operating room, senior resident is operating, and the junior residents are watching and getting experience. And we also use the ये play हो जाएगी video है, can you play that? So this is the simulation which we use. It is actually for capsulorhexis, and College of Physician and Surgeon has taken it up as an assessment tool as well for the intermediate module examination. So we also use this as a learning tool in our this is the aluminum foil from my wife's kitchen. And as we said earlier, let's make it fun. So a lot of smile on residents' face at the end of the interaction, may it be ward or in the outpatient department or in the theater. So put smile on their face. That's the monument, Carl. Have you visited that? So visit it again, because they've got more fun, and there is also a museum by that side. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Professor Zahid, for your wonderful talk. I would now like to invite Professor Shafiq Saab for his talk on Introduction to Mentoring.
Display. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This word mentoring is very familiar, and almost everyone of us sitting here among the senior will say that I have that person as my mentor. And but for the junior, I just want to give the concept of what actually mentoring is and what actually it is doing. I start my talk with this brainstorming exercise and ask all of you, especially the juniors, to think of not of the future but of the past, one mistake which you have made at one part of your life in making right decision, which has delayed your progress in your life, and has not you done that mistake, you could have reached a better destination. Just have a thinking on this. Any mistake, small mistake, I will not ask you, any one of you, to speak it out, but think of it for just a while in 10-15 seconds. I will be quiet and you will think. One mistake which actually mattered and you have made a wrong decision. I'm sure every one of you be thinking of one moment when you did it. Okay. And now think that if some supporting relation would have discussed that issue or matter before making decision with him, and he might have stopped you making that mistake. Was there chance? This person could have been in the form of an advisor, a coach, your supervisor, your teacher. If this would have been done, that and you had not made that mistake to save your loss in the future, that person would have been called for you as your mentor. I move forward. What actually mentor, other words used in the word for mentor are the guru. It's a very commonly used word in this our part of the word, and even in the European word guru, and in our part of the word people use this word murshid, and without thinking what murshid has said, whether wrong or right, people follow. But most of the time your guru says something which is having some very good meaning for your actions, your future. And Beverly Kay was a key note speaker at the late part of the 20th century who said, behind every successful person, there is one elementary truth. Somewhere, somehow, someone cared about their growth and development, and this person was his or her mentor. I would like that you listen to this little talk here.
Everyone needs a coach. It doesn't matter whether you're a basketball player, a tennis player, a gymnast, or a bridge player. My bridge coach, Sharon Osberg, says there are more pictures of the back of her head than anyone else's in the world. Sorry, Sharon. Here you go. We all need people who will give us feedback. That's how we improve.
Over the years, I've received so many different kinds of advice, I don't know where to start. One that comes to mind is to have a coach. Our board member in 2002, John Doerr, said, you need a coach. And I said, well, I don't need a coach. I'm an established CEO. Why would I need a coach? Is something wrong? He said, no, you need a coach. Everybody needs a coach. So Bill Campbell became my coach and has served Google very well. Every famous athlete, every famous performer has somebody who's a coach, somebody who can watch what they're doing and say, is that what you really meant? Did you really do that? They can give them perspective. The one thing people are never good at is seeing themselves as others see them. A coach really, really helps.
The mentor as a concept manages the relationship, encourages to move forward, nurtures the mentee, organizes healthy discussions, teaches the principles of life, responds to the mentee's need. The word mentor actually originated from a Greek classical story, the Odyssey, in which the king Odysseus called upon a trusted friend named Mentor to act as a guide and advisor to his son Telemachus when he left for another country to fight a war. While he was going for the war, he thought, my country has to be taken. He left for another country to fight a war. While he was going for the war, he thought, my country has to be taken care of by someone. And his son was very small at the time. He then thought that one of my friend who is trusted, by chance his name was Mentor. And that word came from that story, that mentor is the one which watches and tells you, informs you about your expected mistakes and you correct yourself. Nowadays, another man who is a good animation former, his name is also Mentor. He has made this animation on mentoring. I hope this will give you a very good concept of mentoring. Okay, the definition about mentoring has been given by Standing Committee on the Postgraduate Medical and Dental Education. As I said, it's a process wherein an experienced, highly regarded, empathetic person guides another, usually younger individual who develops in the development and re-examination of the ideas, learning, and personal as well as the professional development. And usually the mentor and mentee are working in the same institution, but it's not essential. The concept of mentoring in health profession started in the midwifery in 1970s, and later now you know that most of the teaching institutions are involving this tool for training their students. Mentoring is extremely beneficial career development tool. Mentees exhibit better performance, rapid progress, and lesser turnover intentions, and mentor feels more confident and greater satisfied in their career satisfaction. It has slight difference from coaching. Coaching has a reporting relationship, while there is no reporting relation seen in mentoring. No expertise are required to mentor, but there has to be experience and a wise person. And it focus in supervisor coach is short term, so it's a long term in development. In mentoring, direction is set by the coach in coaching, while it is set by the mentee, and there is feedback has to be provided all times by coach, but it's a mutual discussion and sharing reflections in mentor-mentee relationship. Mentoring does not come over day. It takes time. Once you become fully experienced, then the stage of mentoring comes for you. I just say that this diagram is very expressive in saying then if somebody is knowledgeable and passes through the training, he becomes skilled. If he is has become able and passes through coaching, he becomes talented. But if somebody is experienced and is provided with mentoring, he becomes wise and gets wisdom in his life. There are different types of the mentoring. One is formal, in which time is set and the rules are set, and it's for specific time, as usually we can see in some institutions, for 1 year or 2 years. Informal is unlimited and can go for life. Group mentoring, one mentor, many mentees, tele-mentoring, peer mentoring, but one type is reverse mentoring. It's nowadays, these are the days when reverse mentoring is also usually we see in our life that whenever we stuck in the telecommunication levels in anything, we get help from our even younger childrens, and so that the continuation of the same animation, mentor has expressed his view what reverse mentoring देखिए सिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, he's trying to make him learn. आप देखें कि हमने when we started learning computer in our age group, we first learned things, but we were very weak and always got help from our juniors, and that is the form of reverse mentoring, and one should not be shy in getting such type of help to bring yourself out of unease. I brief myself here. There are several myths as well according to in reference to mentoring. But I conclude my talk by saying the mentoring is a vital component in machinery of the medical education. But unfortunately, most of the faculty which is working as mentor are not properly trained, and the institution should change their culture to value and reward the mentoring. Thank you so much. I stop my talk on the sentence, spread the wisdom as a mentor and build the next generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Shviksav. That was a wonderful. I really liked the cartoon. That was best. I think one of the best demonstrations of mentoring I've ever seen. So now I'll take my talk, Sophia Farooq, on paradigm shift in undergraduate medical education. When I started thinking about this shift in the paradigm, or the paradigm shift in the undergraduate medical education, what set me thinking was that curriculum or quality assurance committees that was being set up by UHS, who were brought into effect, change the curriculum and to update it. And it was high time that UHS thought of that, and they actually have started some work on that. And also, while I was myself going through the same process of teaching and learning, I was doing my master's and my children were going through their undergraduate years, came the COVID and everyone went online. And that's when blended learning really came into being. Probably before that, no one had a concept as to how effectively it could be put into motion. But after COVID, that's when it really came into play. So we had already moved from the traditional curriculum to the this competency-based curriculum at all levels, at CanMARS, at ACGME, at GMC UK. So everyone was doing that. And then that shift after the COVID-19. So this concept of blended learning is, why give up online teaching entirely just because COVID is over? Once we have put these mobiles into everyone's hands, and everyone, I mean everyone, that includes me, and we are spending pretty much, I don't know, I spend like 6 to 7 hours every day. I don't know about you. You must be spending, maybe some people are spending less, but we are spending almost around 7 to 8 hours every day on our devices, be it laptops, mobiles, tabs, whatever. But we are all spending a lot of time on that. So why not put that into effectively and enter that into our learning and teaching strategies and make a component of it. So that's the concept of blended learning, basically, that you combine the face-to-face learning with the online teaching process. And why should we use it again? It's because our students now find it more interesting. They find it easier. Of course, it is there's a greater flexibility, and more importantly, the responsiveness of the students actually increases. So whenever in classroom now, when I ask a question, and the students, of course, as ever, are reluctant to answer, I just ask them. I say, open your mobiles, just search it out right now, and we'll get an answer while I'm still in the classroom and delivering the lecture. And that really sets them going. They like that. And sometimes, I make short comments like, what? Data nahi hai? खत्म हो गया. अक्सर बच्चों के पास डाटा नहीं होता. Or there's another issue. They have their data for WhatsApp and Facebook, but if you ask a question, then Google finds it very hard to open. So anyways, that makes it more interesting. And of course, as Professor Meenal has already mentioned, online teaching makes it easier for students to go for an asynchronous learning process. Maybe they are not that interested in your classroom. Maybe they are not very receptive to your lecture at that particular time, but they may be very receptive, or their learning time may be, like at 2 a.m. And at that time, if your video lecture is available, they might open it up and have a better learning session at that time when you are probably sleeping at home, and that would be asynchronous learning. And that's just as effective probably as the face-to-face learning. So you can combine the two modes of delivery. And as far as the development for the curriculum is concerned, you can also blend it in and ask your teachers to make online sessions for the students. And I've seen that even before using the word senior, but they were very reluctant to use technology for delivering lectures because they found it hard to sit on a Zoom lecture. They also found it hard to work out the systems for the LMS or the Moodles that were, but at the end of the day, if you provide some technical support to them, it's not that difficult, and you can get them around. And of course, bringing change is never easy. We should always understand the difference between blended learning and hybrid learning while we're at it. Blended is when you combine the face-to-face learning with your online sessions, but your students or your learners are compound and they're compelled to be face to face at some point. On the other hand, hybrid is when some of the students may be entirely online and some are like sitting in front of you, and that's a typical example of a hybrid learning. So people tend to use blended / hybrid. You can, but that's the basic difference between the two. And the attributes are the same. You need to have motivation, and you have to personalize the whole experience. It has to be, it gives you better mobility and better control over the tracking and the structure of the teaching programs that you're concerned with. There are several models for the blended learning that can be used. We have the replacement model, in which you substitute the online content and the activities for portions of the in-class, and this reduces the face-to-face class time. And the supplemental model, in which there is no actual reduction in the classroom time, and you only supplement and complement the classroom time for the students. I think for all of us, the supplemental model is a better option, because right now our students are face-to-face and we expect them to be face-to-face learning at all times. Then you have the Emporium model, which can be done through a learning resource center, and the Buffet model, which is open and flexible, and it can be dependent entirely on the online teaching modality. The modes of learning are through classroom, traditional, face-to-face, teacher, students, large group, and you can use e-learning and simulations and online testing modules and audience response systems. I think there was a conference once when we held a panel discussions, and we gave those audience response clicks to everyone in the audience, and they clicked their answers, and that's, I think, very interesting, and that makes the student responsiveness, increases their responsiveness. You can incorporate all the different teaching philosophies, such as behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, connectivism. That's just theory, and if you have to put into action, you just go for these four. That's communication, critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. The better communication, and I have seen that with blended learning, the instant response that the student gets from the tutor, you have your mobile in your hand, you get a question online, like basically on your WhatsApp group or whatever, and you answer it instantly. The gratification content of that is much more, and the student gets instantly answered for his questions, and that increases and that is easy for you also, because you are sitting at your home in your comfort, and you check out your messages, and you see that this particular student wants to know this question, and you can answer it from the ease of your home. So that flexibility makes it easier for everyone, the teacher as well as the learner. Of course, there are challenges, and which is why I suggested that it is not a replacement model. We should go for a supplemental model. The role modeling, which we have been all stressing upon so much the entire afternoon, would not be there if you are absent entirely. And the difference in the time zones, for example, if Carl is sitting in, say, New York, and he's trying to answer me, say, that would be like 12-hour time difference or 24-hour time difference, day and night. And the infrastructure, internet facilities, I think that has pretty much been overcome, because the 3 years of COVID, if one thing we have in hand is technology and infrastructure, so that can be overcome. A monitoring system can also be put into place, because that's not has not been an issue. If you have face-to-face contacts added to the online contact, then monitoring should not be that difficult. Of course, the actual communication or the conversation or the skills that we want to teach our students regarding communication would not be there, but some online communication can very effectively put into place. You can apply it at all levels through tutorials, PBLs, CBLs, team-based, everything. Engagement of students, I have seen, increases a lot, because online learning is definitely more interesting for them. They find it more involving. It's easier for them to flip between a game and between a quiz at the same time, and they do it easily enough. Also, there's always that bright side of things. When you're doing things online, you can always cheat, go to the Google, try to text the answer and get it, and I do that in most of my tests that I have online, and I find it very interesting. And then I time myself. I say, okay, they have given me 10 minutes to this quiz. Let's see if I can answer these questions in, say, 7 minutes. And that's not me answering the questions. That's me typing very rapidly on Google search engine, whatever the question is, and getting the answer and putting that the first thing. Twice I got 9 out of 10, and I was really angry at myself. Why did I get one wrong? I was searching it online, and still I got one wrong. I mean, there's something wrong with the Google search engine, I tell you. And they can always conduct a problem-based learning on the can be done online as well. And designing. Well, you can have your target group, you can have the learning objectives, again, the content, whatever skills are required, which test methods you want to use, whichever instructional strategies you would like to employ for that. You all have to plan and design it and have come up with a perfect mix. There is no perfect mix, but well, you can aim for one. And the learning objectives are pretty much the same, just as the taxonomy has been telling us so far. You can test methods to be used or assessment methods can be multiple, and there should be multiple. Instead of using only one form of assessments, during your formative and your summative assessments, you can shuffle the various assessment form techniques, and that will actually make it more interesting. Instruction strategies for the blended learning, which is what we are talking about right now, can employ all these situations that you see. So how you plan the activities and you design them, you combine your e-learning with your face-to-face learning, you have your introductions, then you can, like come up, you have to face-to-face, then you can take them online for their instructions, you can test them online, then you can bring them back and put them into skill labs. And finally, for the summative assessments also can be done as a face-to-face assessment skill. So, content preparation, again, entirely up to you. Blended/hybrid, you can vary anywhere from 30 to 40%. But again, my suggestion is a supplemental, not as a replacement model. That's the best useful for it. Assessments, we'll be talking about in the next session as well. So thank you for your time and attention. And I think we have concluded this session. So anyone who has any questions are very welcome to ask them. You will be summarizing the whole thing?
Just make a comment or two. So I think the session is a good example of how many different things we as educators need to be able to do and know about. I mean, there's so many things to be a great educator. I think that what I've done with my conferences, we heard about how bad lecture is for learner retention. And so I've taken, I'm a neuro-ophthalmologist, so I do 3 conferences a month with my residents. And I've taken my old lectures and taken all the facts, like the anatomy, that kind of out, and made short narrated lectures that are put online. And then before the conference, they say, okay, we're going to talk about pupils. They look at this 10-minute pupil, things that they could read in textbooks. And then during the conference, no lecture, just cases. And then in the cases, of course, I choose to highlight the factual data, that stuff, but we use the conferences to make use of the thought processes of the expert and how you approach these patients. So it's totally interactive. Every case is, what do you think, residents? And I start with the first year or the second year residents, and then move on. If they can't answer it, we move on to the chief residents and so on. So I don't lecture anymore to the residents in my conferences. It's all very interactive, where they're doing and saying, and sometimes even talking with each other to learn from each other during those courses. And then the other comment I'd make, I think, on the mentoring is that I've had some really great mentors over the years, but the best mentors I've had are still my mentors. It shouldn't stop. I mean, if you've got a great resident or you're a mentor for whoever, it shouldn't stop when they leave your program, when they're done with their training. Really, it should be lifelong. And I've had some great mentors for short times, but was very disappointed when it seemed like, oh, I guess that's it. So my best mentors clearly are my mentors who are still my mentors. And so I think I would encourage at some point
not just short term.
We'll be closing this session, and there's a start of another session. Sir, are you the chair? Sir? You have actually, we have 20 minutes to have a cup of coffee, sir. Can I get you a cup of coffee?